Welcome back, Queen, to another episode of the Creatress of Freedom podcast. I'm Annie and I am your host, and I'm so happy to be dropping on in with you again today. I'm celebrating you for taking some time out of your day because the reality is that you could have completely chosen to do something else right now in this moment, but instead here you are dropping on in and hearing some wisdom and some nuggets and seeing what lessons you can learn out of today's episode. So, welcome, welcome, welcome. If you are new here, oh my gosh, hey Queen, I'm so happy that you're here. I love when I have new people come and tune on into the podcast. So, come and let me know if you have just listened to today's episode. And the best way would be through Instagram. So, you'll see in the show notes where you can find me. Come and say hi. And if you are an OG, welcome back, Queen. You know I love you, and I'm so happy that you're here today. So let's get stuck into it. Now, if you have been following my IG stories on my personal slash non-salon owner account, so the Instagram handle is I am Anastasia underscore Louisa. You'll find that in the show notes, so you can go and check it out. I have just done some travel and did some Greek island hopping with my bestie from the States. So my bestie Bree was here. Well, she still is here. She's been here for like over a month now. Anyway, we had this whole Europe summer planned, but the reality was that my visa was still not back, so I wasn't able to leave Greece. Which, even as I say that, I feel like I sound so entitled. I'm like, oh, poor you, Annie. You're not even allowed to leave Greece. Like, wow, that must be terrible to have to only do Greece on your Europe summer. I know it sounds bad. So I had to catch myself when I say that. But so as a result, she went to Italy. She did a few other places as well, and I wasn't able to go, which I was really sad about, but also fully trusting in the process of everything that is supposed to unfold. And so if you've been following along, you will have seen what we've been getting up to. We've been maximizing our summer for sure. So when she came back from Budapest, we decided to do some island hopping. And so today, what I want to share with you is just some of the breakthroughs that have resurfaced through traveling. Because the reality about traveling is, oh my goodness, does it expand you in ways that you did not know that you were ready for. It brings things to the surface that you didn't know that you wanted to even look at. And so it was really interesting doing this trip with a girlfriend as well. And I'll get into that in a second. But there was so much magic. And if you really allow the lands when you're visiting different places to really support you, even if it's just a different town, but if you really drop into the land, you are going to get so much wisdom. You're going to get recalibrated to that new level. And so this is always my intention with every new place that I go and visit, even if it's somewhere here in Crete, if I'm just going to a new village or I'm going to the south side or I'm going to the east, like wherever it is, my intention is to really like feel how the land feels there and what are the lessons that I need to hear for myself. And so the first stop that we had was Milos. And now if you've been to Milos, it's beautiful, it's magical. This was my second time to Milos, but the first time that I did it was with a girlfriend who I am actually no longer friends with anymore. We've gone separate ways. And so it actually brought up a lot for me of this new level of healing. And because I visited Milos with a new friend that I have a very, very different relationship with, it really brought a lot to the surface. And so when Bree said to me that she wanted to go and visit Milos, there was some resistance in me. And I was like, oh, I don't really want to go back to an island that I've already been to. You know, like I don't want to spend the money on an island that I've already been to. I would rather go and check out a new place. But Bree had such a deep calling to this island. She really wanted to check it out. And so I was like, well, I've learned to believe and trust that when something is an opportunity in front of you, it has not been presented for no reason, right? So I was like, all right, let's go. I'm sure there's some kind of medicine there. I'm sure I can have a great trip, right? And so we did. We embarked off and we caught the ferry and we got into Milos, and it was a different vibe to start with when I first got there compared to when I was there in 20, when was I there? 2023? Yeah, 2023. And roughly, it was nearly, I looked back at the dates, it was nearly to the date as well. I think it was like a few days off, which I was like, this is crazy that nearly to the date 2 years later, I'm back in the same place. Anyway, so the first encounters that we have with the locals is not a great experience. Like, it just felt like they hated tourists, honestly. When I was there 2 years ago, it was more of an untouched island. It was more of an island that they really loved having the tourism come. And I would say that from the last 2 years that it has become quite a popular island. And I would say the locals are over it. I know, living on a Greek island myself, and you have the tourists come through, like, you do get frustrated because it's just a different way of living on an island. And when tourists come and don't understand that way of living, it is really frustrating. So I get it. I understand why maybe they feel that way about the tourism. But yeah, it was a different vibe. It didn't feel super welcoming, and which was really interesting because I already had resistance to this island. So we pick up our hire car, we go to our accommodation, and like everything is like pretty good. The people at the car hire were pretty, I don't know, just not super friendly. They just were not super friendly like I had experienced 2 years prior. And a couple of girls came in at the car hire, and they had been charged for wearing swimwear in the car. Apparently, you're not allowed to wear swimwear in the car because then they're going to charge you with an extra cleaning fee of like €90 just to clean it, which is more than what the car hire was. So, yeah, it was just like, wow, like things have really changed. And if you've been to Milos, there is like over 80 beaches to look at. So pretty much what you're doing on that island is swimming and visiting the beaches. And so to have to constantly be getting in and out of your swimwear when you get in and out of the car is painful. It is so painful. And so I can see why people just keep their swimwear on. But we were like, €90, that is crazy just for a cleaning fee. So it was just little things like that that were super strict and just were not like that previously. Anyway, so then we get to our accommodation. That's all good. We park the car. And then a few random hours later, we're just like settling into our accommodation. And a few hours later, I get this message from the car rental place to say that a local in the village that we are staying in has reported the car as being parked in an unsafe spot, and that if it's not moved within 5 minutes, she's calling the police to have it towed away. And I was just like, what the fuck is going on with this island? And I had not seen that for like a couple of hours. And so I was like, oh my God, is the car even there? Have we like, has the car been towed away? Anyway, so I was freaking out and I was telling Brie about it. And she's like, oh, do you want me to come with you? And I was like, yes, please. So we go out. The car was still there. So like I moved it, but like this was the introductory to the trip. And I was like, I don't know if I like this island, Brie. She's like, wow. She's like, was it like this last time? I was like, no, not at all. It was a completely different experience. Anyway, we start visiting all of the places over the next few days. So Brie and I are both working while we're traveling. So I've been doing it for quite a few years now. Bree is adjusting to it because it's new, working remotely and traveling, and like it really does increase your capacity to hold way more because it just looks different, right? It looks so different. And so we're navigating it. So we're working mainly in the evenings, and then we're exploring through the day. And it was like a really good mix and a good balance. So we were off doing all of the things in the day, but what was happening for me was all of these places that I was visiting and showing Brie, because, a lot of the tourist places were the places that you go and see. And so I had already done a lot of them from the previous time with this other friend. And so as I was revisiting all these places, I was having flashbacks with this previous friend. And like then almost like having another flashback of me being here in the present moment with this friend and how different this relationship is. Like, I don't know, I feel like there between Brie and I, we've done past lives together. Like, honestly, there is some kind of connection that I have with Brie, like deep soul sister, that I have not experienced with any other woman in my life. And so it's deeply healing. And I felt like I have really got to look at that previous friendship and also how hurt my heart was about letting go of that friendship. And if you've listened to previous podcast episodes, I've actually talked very openly about that friendship, and I've shared with you how I navigated ending that friendship because it did not feel in alignment anymore for me and for where I was at. And so I have actually shared that in previous episodes. So if you want to hear this situation of this friend and how our friendship fell apart and we went separate ways, I have openly shared about that. So you can go and have a listen. And if you're like, I don't know where to find that, come and DM me and I will send you the direct link and you can have a listen to it. It's a really, really powerful episode if you are in a season right now where you know that some friendships are not serving your highest good and you want to start to create some distance, but you don't want to just abandon them or stop talking to them or just stop showing up, and you actually want to handle it in a really beautiful, loving way. That's very much what the episode is. So I share about my personal experience and then I also give you some insights on how to have that conversation as well. And so all of these things were coming up for me that I had to look at. And then I was having a energetic response. And so my mood was changing, my physical was changing, and Brie could feel that. And so I had to be really open and really raw and share with her what was coming up for me and give her that time and space to hold for me and to help me see it from a different perspective and to help me heal essentially. And there were some really, really hard conversations that I had to have with Brie around this previous experience that I had with this previous friend. And so it was just the most deeply raw, vulnerable space that I've been in for a while, because and this is something else that Brie and I were talking about, is that both of us are very, very good at doing the healing work in isolation. We're very good at like doing the work that we need to do, but we can do it on our own, right? And so when you are traveling with someone for such a period of time and you're having these memories come up and you're being asked to look at things to go on a deeper level of healing, you have to share that with that person so that they're not feeling triggered or abandoned, or, you can work through it together and navigate it together. And so that was a new level for me to be sharing what was happening in the real moment with her and trust that she can hold that space for me and that she is able to um, show me it from a different perspective and show me what else might get to be looked at. And it was just the most deeply healing space that we had both been in, and she was having a lot of things come up for her, and so vice versa, I was holding space, and it was just really, really deeply healing that I really believe I rewrote a lot of my stories around sisterhood and how sisters can show up for you and how vulnerability is not necessarily a bad thing, that you can really have a conversation with someone and they can support you and they can hold you and they can say that it's safe enough to cry and like have a breakdown and let go so that you can, be rebuilt together. It's really, really beautiful. So I feel like Milos was a big theme, was really around this healing of this sisterhood wound for me and having to be really raw and, really share the depths of what's going on and how she mirrored back to me that I don't have to do it alone. She wants to hear the highs and the lows. I don't have to be this person that has it all together in front of her. She wants to hold all of me. And so it was so beautiful to have this friend that really genuinely wants to be there throughout your growth and no matter what it looks like. And so it was really, really healing for me to experience that with her. And then we extended our stay another day in Milos, and so that was all good. And then from there we actually went to Folagandros. And so this was an island that I felt very called to. So Bree did not feel called at all to it. We did do a day trip when we were in Milos to Kimalos, and Bree had a huge, like, visceral, energetic expansion reaction when we visited Kimalos. And we did just do a day, but Bree felt like she needed to go back there and spend more time on the island. It's a super small island, like tiny. We know, I mean, we nearly got it done in one day. So it's really remote, really cute, beautiful waters. The waters were magical, deeply healing. Some of the most incredible color of water that I have ever seen, like turquoise, like almost like a swimming pool kind of water. It was magical. And so she felt this really deep call to Kimalos. But I was not feeling that. I didn't like, I felt like I was complete at Kimalos. So she was like, we were planning out the rest of our trip, and she was like, we need to spend the last part of the trip back in Kimalos. And I was like, all right, yeah, no worries. I'm like, I'm not feeling the call for it, but like, I trust that if you feel that call, then we'll both go together. And I'm sure there'll be some kind of lesson in it for me. Anyway, so we went to Folagandros first, and I had no idea what this island was holding or what I was waiting, what was waiting for me. But I just knew that I had a deep, deep, deep call to visit this island. And I had also had another friend who I did ayahuasca with recommend this island. And I just know this friend, this beautiful sister, that she'd recommended a lot of my solo trip of Greece, and it was phenomenal. So like I was like, I fully trust that whatever she has given me is exactly why I need to be here. So we got there first couple of days, like not really sure why I'm here, but like big things are coming up. Lots of things are coming to the surface. We are swimming in these magical waters. We are laying on these beautiful rocks, and the rocks. So we didn't realize this, but a lot of the rocks are have crystals in the rocks. And so pretty much Folagandros is just like this huge big island that is very, very rocky. There's not a lot of greenery. There's not a lot of trees. There's a lot of rocks and water, really. Not a lot of like nature side of things. And these rocks, like you could feel the energy from these rocks. And some of the rocks had obviously fallen off the cliff faces and like dropped into the water. And so then obviously the water is being amplified by the crystals that are in the water. And so when you're swimming in these waters, like you are feeling like you are swimming through portals. Like it is like nothing like I've ever experienced. This island is phenomenal. And then we do this boat tour, and the guy, as we're like on the boat tour, he is describing bits and pieces about the island. And he says, I think it was the word Folagandros or follow or something. It was a part of the name of the island. And he said, what that means is rocky. And that's how the island got its name. And we were like, oh my gosh, like that makes so much sense, because it really is like this island of like just rocks, and the rocks have crystals in them. And some of the spots that we went to on the boat, Brie and I would both say to each other before we jump in the water, like, which part are you feeling called to? And every single time we were both feeling drawn to a certain part. And so we would swim over to it, either be some cave or be some rock, and we'd climb up and out, and we'd like lay on the rocks and like allow our bodies to be recalibrated by the rocks and the messages and the wisdom that is here from these rocks. And I remember one of these spots, it just looked like a beige rock is what it looks like. And so before we jump in the water, Bree's like, which part are you feeling called to? And I'm like, that part. She's like, me too, let's go. So we like swim over to this part, and as we're getting out, like what looked like just like a beige rock was like an entire quartz rock edge. Like it was insane. And the energy that you could feel from laying on this rock, like you could feel the vibration, you could feel the pulsing through your body. Like insane. So many times when I would be laying on these rocks, I would hear messages of like different parts of my chakras that I needed to lay on, or it needed to be activated. My third eye was very, very active in Folagandros. It kept asking me to place my third eye on these rocks. And so I would literally like place my third eye on the rock, and I could feel this energy surge from the rocks, like going into my third eye and like almost like charging my third eye and like opening it and expanding it and like blasting it out of the capacity that it was at, and like widening it so much more. It was like, obviously, as you're listening to me, you can hear how excited I was by this island. It was really, really interesting. One of the days we went for this hike and we walked up to this, like, I don't know, it was like this random spot. I don't think we were supposed to be there, but the energy felt really dark, actually. Like something not right was going on there. And we found these sheep, and these sheep had their like front legs and their back legs tied. And we were like, but they were kind of like, these sheep were kind of like hidden. And I hadn't seen that in Greece. I hadn't seen, like, I feel like animal cruelty is quite big here. And it's actually one of the reasons, one out of three reasons why expats leave Greece is because of animal cruelty. And so I didn't really feel like that was animal cruelty. I mean, it definitely was, but I thought it was more because maybe they were about to be slaughtered, or, like maybe it was so that they couldn't escape or get away, and go too far, or, so they couldn't run on the road and get hit, or, things like that. But anyway, where we were, this energy just felt really dark and really heavy, and like something dead was like in that space. Like that's the only way that we can explain it. And we both were feeling it, and we both were like feeling sick. And I felt like my throat chakra was like blocking up. Even like as I'm talking about, I can feel my throat chakra now like getting like a little bit blocked. And I felt like I had to like energy clear myself. And then we finally like came back down on this road, and we just stumble across this random bakery in a house. And we're just like, what the? This is insane. Anyway, and then after that experience, we were like, I'm not sure about this island anymore. Like the energy was so dark. And even Brie was like, I want to get off the fucking island. She's like, I don't want to be on this island anymore, Annie. Like, I want out. And, I said to her, maybe that's the medicine in itself, right? Like, if you're scared of the dark and you're trying to run from the dark, like, what would it look like for you to actually sit in the dark? And she was like, oh, interesting, because we want the light, but we have to go through the dark to get the light. Anyway, we had gone to this other spot, and we were swimming. We'd swum in and around the rocks, and then we like climbed up out, and it was just her and I at this stage. And we were up on these rocks. She was having her moment. I was having my moment. And I had this like flashback of my ex. And it was this particular weekend that was supposed to be the weekend that he was going to propose. And the reason that I know that is because of everything that he had planned. And then after that weekend, we obviously talked about it, and I was right, but it didn't happen. He never asked me. And I had actually found the ring like before that. I think it was like 2 years before I had found it, before he had planned this weekend. And so I had this flashback back to this weekend. We were in Sydney, and supposedly the reason that he didn't ask me is because the things that he had planned, he had this like entire weekend plan, and some of those things got cancelled. And because they got cancelled, he seen that as a sign that it wasn't going to be the perfect proposal, so he wasn't going to go ahead with it. And at the time, I was really hurt by it. And then to also like years later, him still not ask me to marry him, I was like, well, I don't know what's going on here. And so I made a lot of it about myself. And so I had this flashback of this entire weekend. I was feeling the hurt. I was feeling the pain of him not asking me. And then I was like having this like meditative state of like marriage and what does marriage mean? And there was a part of me that had this association with marriage, that marriage meant that I belonged somewhere. And so belonging and community were two other really big themes that came up for me. And so I was like sharing this with Brie, and we were having a conversation about it. And I was saying to her, like, I genuinely really feel like I'm in a season where I'm ready to start finding more community. And I've shared this on previous episodes that I have felt really isolated as of late in Greece, and I'm finding it hard to find community and I'm finding it hard to find my people. And that is a kind of like a draw card to want to go back to Australia because I am feeling like I'm really missing that. And I think I needed to be here in a season of isolation because there was so much deep healing that actually happened and went on. And I think I needed that without the distractions. But now I'm feeling this deep call for community. But as I'm feeling the deep call for community, it's bringing everything up with that. And as I was chatting it out with Brie, I was like, there's a big part of me that really wants to find community, but I think I'm actually terrified of finding community. I'm terrified of not fitting in. And I think that so much of this belief comes from my religious trauma. And this was the other huge big theme that came up on this island was the religious trauma that I still navigate every single day, even though I have not been a practicing Christian or a part of the religion for 17 plus years now. There's still a lot that happens on a subconscious level because these beliefs were built into my blood. These beliefs were with me for, you know, so long. And I'm slowly, day by day, month by month, year by year, unpacking more and more of them. And I've done a lot of work around the religious trauma, but this is like a new level of insight and a new level of awareness that I have not experienced before on just how much that religious background is impacting my day to day as an adult now without even realizing. It's all happening on a subconscious level, right? And so as we were chatting about this word community, and Brie was like, I think you need to, find some groups and your people. And she's like, I'm surprised that you're on an island in Crete and even the location that you chose to live in because it feels really isolating. And she's like, I don't know, is there a part of you that's actually hiding and, you don't want to be seen? And I think that visibility is another key that came up as well. And this has been something that I've been working through for probably a couple of months now is visibility. And this is why I have recently changed my Instagram account that used to be a private one to a public one because there is a part of me that is learning how to stretch my capacity and hold more and allow myself to be seen, right? Even though it's a lot of my private life that I get up to, it's like, how can I increase my capacity to be seen with people that don't even know me? And if I can do that, then that's going to filter into my business as well, where I'm not going to be scared to be seen. And so as Brie brought this up, I was like, it's interesting that you say that because I already feel like I have been navigating through visibility and navigating like, how can I allow myself to be seen more? How can I expose myself, to this is like a type of therapy, right? Where you expose yourself to the fear that you are most scared of. And you kind of it's almost like you immune yourself to it before it even happens. So, before anybody comes at me and has nasty things to say or anything like that, it's like, well, I'm choosing to put myself out there. And so like, I'm ready, I'm exposing myself and I will handle it as it comes. Right. And so this was something else that was coming up. And then when we look at visibility and then we talk about community and we talk about belonging, all of these things, and even marriage, all of these things had this deep rooted core belief from my religious trauma. And so, even as Brie was sharing with me, like, finding your different groups and things like that, there was a part of me that was like, that feels unsafe. This was a subconscious level. I could hear the voice. I've learned to distinguish between the two and know that my inner critic is here to keep me safe, my ego. And so it was like, that's unsafe. You can't trust those people. Those people don't have your highest good um, at the forefront. They're bad associations. They're going to bring you down. You're going to get nowhere in life. And all of that was conditioning from the religion. All of that was the conditioning of like, you can only associate with those that are within the Jehovah's Witness community. You cannot associate with anybody outside that. There's a scripture that my mum used to drum into my head over and over and over and over. And it was all about bad associations spoil useful habits. And this quote, this scripture in the Bible was really emphasizing that the people that you associate with that are outside of the religion, they don't have your best interests at heart, that they are bad people, that you are going to be brought down, that they're bad influences, that you are going to do things that God does not approve of. And so, with this community piece, there is this little subconscious part of me that is still believing that anything outside of a Jehovah's Witness community, which is, even as I talk about this, this is mind blowing to me because I'm like, what the fuck? Like, I've done so much work around this and it's here? Like, seriously? But it's like that religious trauma from not associating with anybody else. I think there is a part of me that says, yes, I want it, but I'm actually really terrified to step into it because what if they don't have my best interests at heart? What if they are bad influences? And it's almost like even when I think about that, it's like I can feel myself go back to like a 12, 13-year-old girl that would not have discernment, right? And so as I hear these stories and these patterns and beliefs, I can catch myself and go, hold on, you're now 36, Annie, and you have discernment. You have experience in the world. You know who's going to be a bad association. You know who's not going to be in alignment. You know who is not going to be the type of person that you want to invest time and energy into, right? You're not 12 anymore. You are 36 and you have all this life experience. And so it's like being able to catch these moments that all happen so seamlessly and so quick. Literally, I was in Folagandros for like 4 days and I feel like I unpacked years of trauma in this space because of the way that island held me. And so community was something that was really, really big that came up for me. And then the other piece of this is the belonging and really feeling like I belong somewhere and feeling like I fit into different groups. And that is a big reason as to why I want to get married, because I feel like I will finally belong somewhere, that this person has chosen for me to come into their family and be a part of their family. Like they chose me. My own family doesn't want me or accept me for who I am, and they can't because of their religious belief. And so, therefore, their love is conditional. But then I can find, this person that chooses to want to spend the rest of their life with me, and they've chosen that. And now I can belong in somebody's family because there is a part of me that really does not know where I fit in. I struggle to know where I am. And now that I have moved across the world and I live in Greece, even like a location doesn't feel like I belong anymore because you've grown and you have evolved so much in that space that you're like, I don't know where I fit in anymore. And so travel is amazing, but then it also like kind of like uproots your entire belief system around like, well, what even is home? Ultimately, home is within myself, but it's just really interesting to witness how locations make you feel like that. And so this is something that is really big for me at the moment. And I'm really working through this aspect of the belonging and like the marriage piece. Like
I don't want to just marry someone because I want to belong. Like that's happening on a subconscious level. But now that I'm aware of that, I can do some deeper healing work around that. And that could also be the one thing that's, blocking my king from coming in, because my intentions from a subconscious level are not as pure as what they should be. And so even Brie was saying to me, I think that you are going to be disappointed if you are going to go into a marriage thinking that it's going to give you a sense of belonging. I think that you've already entered that marriage on the wrong foot. And so it's not going to give you what you want. And I said to her, I 100% agree with you. And I know that. And that was why I wanted stepkids. And that's why I wanted business. And that's why I wanted growth. That's why I wanted financial freedom. Because all of these things that I thought were going to make me happy or were going to give me some sense of fulfillment were everything that was external. And when I achieved those things, I did not feel any different. If anything, I felt worse for achieving them. And so I know that I can't be entering a marriage based on because it makes me feel like I belong, because that's the inner work that I have to do on myself. I can't be looking for the belonging outside of myself. The belonging has to come from deep within me. And I have to heal that first within me before I even think about calling in a partner, because otherwise I'm going to be met back with the exact same. And we're going to be two trauma responses that are toxic for each other, because I'm looking for a sense of belonging. And that is the vibration of what I'm going to get met back with as well. So that is where we're currently at. That's what I'm working through. That's what I'm navigating right now, is this sense of community, this sense of belonging, what marriage means, visibility, friendships. There is so much that unpacked. The entire trip was like 10 days. And I came home and I was like, whoa, I need to like ground on in. And how perfect that it was the full moon as well. So I have been deeply in ceremony over the last few days, and so much more has come to the surface because of the dedication to these full moon practices that I've been navigating and working through. And so I've been healing a lot over this last few days, and I'm just really excited to see what unfolds from this moving forward. So yeah, if you have listened to today's episode and you are like, wow, like how the hell did you navigate all of those things? Or, like what, now that you have this awareness around, the belonging and the community, and you've realized that there's a lot of religious trauma, like what are you doing now with it? How are you working through that? How are you healing through that? Everything that I go through, all my tools and my practices, you will find inside Evolve. Everything that I teach is what I'm embodied in, right? I don't give you a different framework different to what I use. It's literally everything that I use. That is what Evolve is. So if you are someone that knows that there is some beliefs that aren't serving you anymore, you want to go on a deeper self-discovery journey, you want to start to unpack some things, maybe you don't know what they are, but you're just like, it's time to like start to build this new deep trust, to start to have some self-love, start to go on a beautiful journey of figuring out what you want in life and what's important to you, and doing some deep healing. This space is exactly that. We have a monthly call that is a healing call, and then we have a guest speaker that comes in depending on what our theme is for the month. We bring in a guest speaker that speaks on that topic and gives you exercises and embodiment practices and work that you can do after the call as well. There is an entire vault of meditations, of teachings and trainings, of playlists, of rituals, of ceremonies. Every full moon and every new moon, I give you a detailed ritual that you can choose to partake in if you want to. There's so much in the back end. So if you have listened to today's episode and you're like, wow, yeah, there's some things that I want to start to work through, then this is the space for you, girlfriend. So head to the show notes. You'll find everything there. If you want to come and shoot me a DM on Instagram, we can have a conversation about if it's the right fit, depending on what it is that you're looking for. But if you know that your heart feels hurt, or you need to do some healing, or you've got this weight on your shoulders that you just need to like wish you could take off, or you've got the shackles around your ankles where you feel like you take one step forward, but then it drags you back from your dream life or your goals, then this is the space for you. So come on in. I would love to see you. And if you've listened to today's episode and you have had a hit or a takeaway or something landed for you, I also want to hear from you too. So come and say hello, and I will talk to you soon. The other thing, actually, before I go, is that if you have listened to this episode and you're like, oh, yes, like this has hit home, and you want something a little bit deeper, I want to remind you of my Chaos to Calm retreat as well. It is in September. There is still some spaces available, and we will go deep and wide because it's in person and it's over 8 days, luxury villa vibes, in-house chef, swim in these magical waters, like you name it, we go there. We're going deep, wide, and we're going to heal. And on the other side is going to be an incredible transformation. So head to the show notes. You will also see the retreat information. The applications are open. If you just want to have a conversation with me and you're not sure if it really is the right fit, then come and DM me and we can 100% have a conversation about it. There is shared and private rooms available, and there is payment plans as well. So really, there's no excuse, girlfriend, why you should not be in that space. All right, I will talk to you super soon. Have a beautiful day. Thanks for joining me today. Bye for now.